here a very long time indeed. At least I think I have.
Hello?
Oh, hello.
What? Isn't it? Yes, aren't you?
Fred.
No, you're not. Surely you're...
Fred, my name's Fred.
All right, then. I'm Nell.
I'm Fred.
Fred! Are you sure that's your name?
Let's start that again, please.
Strange. It must have been another story.
What?
Another time. Yes, it was a happy time, I know that.
Oh, yes.
So anyway, what story are you in at the moment, Fred?
Story? I'm not in a story.
But you must be.
Well, what story?
Whoever's telling it, the story by the person who made you up.
Made me up? What are you talking about?
Invented you. The reason you're here is because someone somewhere is telling a story about you. You knew that, surely. If you don't mind me saying so, you're not very well informed, are you, Fred? It's not your fault. I'm not blaming you. You can't help it, can you? No, I blame the person who put you in this story. You just invented a very, very ignorant character without
I'm
telling.
not ignorant. I know plenty of things, never you mind.
What? For instance, you don't even look as if you know what you're doing here.
I know what I'm doing here.
What?
I'm waiting. Oh, waiting for those stories to start. I've been waiting here for ages.
How long? Exactly.
No, I don't know exactly. Does it matter? Hours and hours, days? I don't know. Years and years, forever.
Forever after. Fascinating. You know, I wonder who it is that's telling you and why. It's a very weird story indeed.
Here we are!
Here we are. Are we all thick, Kevin? Oh.
Everyone, this is Fred.
Yes.
Oh, how lovely. Another character?
Another character. Delicious.
Oh, hello.
Fred, this is Bethany.
He seems familiar, doesn't he?
He does rather. I'm Talitha, hello. But I can't think where we could have met him, Bethany. Can you?
No, but he's not someone you forget now, is he?
Not at all.
What'd you say his name was?
Fred.
Fred.
Fred?
No.
I knew a friend once,
Did you?
but it wasn't this one.
No.
No, this particular friend died when he was 57, eaten by a giant.
Personally, I have never known anyone called Fred, alive or dead, but you are familiar.
I'm Albert. How do you do?
Oh, how do you do? Oh, well, are you going to tell us a story then, now that you're all here?
No.
Here, not the storyteller.
Where's the story played?
Quite
different.
different.
So you mustn't blame Fred. He doesn't know much. He's terribly ignorant, actually, but it's not his fault. He just doesn't seem to have been given any brains.
You've got lots of brains, don't you worry. All right, then, who's telling these stories if you're not?
They are, of course.
Who else?
Well, either great aunt repetitive
If you like hearing things twice,
or aunt dramatic.
when she can remember to get it right,
Or Aunt
and
Oblivious.
she can remember anything at all.
She forgot on the way here.
That's why we're late.
Now, don't worry, they'll be along shortly.
Anyways, we haven't even got...
Where is he?
Now, don't panic. Don't panic. He can't be far away. We just have to look for him, that's all. Everyone spread out and look for him.
I'm not quite certain who we're looking for.
Kevin on keyboards, of course. Honestly, don't you know anything?
Kevin on keyboards! What does he look like?
Well, obviously, he looks exactly like... Listen! Kevin!
Kevin! Oh!
Kevin!
Kevin, this is Kevin. This is his keyboard.
Is he a storyteller?
Not really, no.
But he does help tell the stories, don't he, Kevin?
Kevin, this is Fred.
Oh, hello, Kevin. How do you do?
That's just his way of saying hello.
I think he likes you.
You know, he seems familiar. I've met him before.
Have you? That's interesting. Where?
Oh, I can't think where.
Try and think, Fred. It could be important.
Were you ever a woodcutter? Maybe that's where we met.
No, I don't think so.
He doesn't remember anything, Albert.
Someone should have given him some thought, surely.
And memories.
And ideas.
Careless, it wouldn't have taken long, would it?
As a swineherd once said to me, ideas cost nothing. Here they come.
Oh, are they the ones who'll be telling the story?
Here we are, then. Time for stories.
Story.
Here we go then.
I hope it's one with the pretty princess.
Oh, and it falls asleep for 100 years if I didn't do it.
Now you two don't squabble.
And the first story will be told by... Wait for it. Aunt Ratcliffe.
Oh!
Oh no, there's nobody royal in this at all.
There's a great witch.
Great story! Great story.
What shall I do?
Oh, you'd better sit and watch. They'll call you if they need you, I expect. Once upon a time, on the edge of a large forest, lived a very poor couple and their two children, Gretel and Hansel. Their father was a plumber,
What?
and every day he'd go up...
Excuse
What?
me.
What is it?
It's just that he's generally a
Who
woodcutter. The father. He's usually a woodcutter, at least.
Well,
that's-
he's not. He's a plumber. Don't argue.
Right. Ever so sorry. Plumber. That's a very good idea. Just a second. Right. Here we are.
Are you ready, then?
Yes, sorry.
I've had trouble. Appetite. Now, where was it? Lived a poor couple. Oh, yes, and their two children, Gretel and Hansel. Their father was a plumber, and every day he'd go off to work in the forest to cut down plum trees.
Flippin' head.
Why don't you now?
Just give me a minute. Just make up your mind, that's all.
Listen, I've had enough of it.
It's not my fault, is it? First.
Not only was the plum tree cutter very poor indeed, but he'd lost his voice and forever. And he lived quietly with his wife, who was the children's stepmother and was secretly very wicked. But he had two pretty little children to make up for it. But as time went by, they became poorer and poorer, and their food grew less and less. And the stepmother said to the husband,
How can we possibly feed our poor children when we have nothing left for ourselves?
and the husband said nothing at all. And the stepmother said,
I'll tell you what, I've got one hell of an idea. Tomorrow morning, take the children out early into the woods and leave them in the thickest part of the forest. They're so stupid they'll never find their way back, so we shall get rid of them. More food for us.
and their father, who was appalled by this, said nothing very much. But little did the couple know that upstairs their young boy, who was called Gretel, Gretel had his ear to the door and could hear every word that his parent said. He told his sister Hansel, who wept bitterly.
Excuse me.
What?
I think you've got their names.
What?
It's just their names. I think you've got them.
What?
Sorry. Carry on.
And Gretel had a bright idea, and he went out into the moonlit gardens and gathered up from the ground a handful of bright, shiny saucepan lids.
Saucepan lids. I should have guessed. Hang on.
Everything's being extremely difficult today.
Here we are.
Unfortunately, as Gretel was gathering them, he banged his leg rather hard, and he limped for weeks afterwards. Indeed, we shall find out later in the story whether his leg ever got better or not.
Excuse me.
What?
I don't think they were saucepan lids. What? They were stones. Hansel, I mean Gretel, he picked up
Who? Tell him this story.
Well, I just...
Me?
I,
Or you?
well, you.
Ah!
Who is that?
No idea. And morning came, and the wicked stepmother gave each of the children some bread
Judge against her better judgment.
and said goodbye to them for the last time. And their father, with heavy heart, led the children deep into the forest. But little did he know that even as they went, every few yards, Gretel would cleverly contrive to drop a saucepan lid.
This isn't half as good as saucepan lids.
Even though the brave little chap's legs still hurt him a good deal. When they reached the middle of the forest, Gretel and Hansel gathered up some wood, and their father lit them a fire, and he made them sit there whilst he went off further into the forest, pretending to look for plum trees. But secretly, he crept home. And soon it grew dark, and their fire died down, and the two children huddled together waiting for the moon to rise, which it soon did. And when this happened, Gretel took his sister's hand and followed the trail of saucepan lids that were gleaming so brightly in the moonlight, and they made their way home. And their father, who had thought to see the children again, was overjoyed to see them, even though he couldn't say so many words. Whilst their stepmother was secretly very angry that they found their way home.
Oh, goody, it's you two.
A few days later, they were again so short of food. The stepmother said to the plumber,
Excuse me.
"What?
I'm sorry to
Oh, it's you again, is it? I won't tell you again." And now, a story from Aunt Oblivious.
This could take all night.
Oh,
Why?
damn, sometimes can't
She never remember a finish of the thing thingy.
get on with it.
I'm trying to just take hopping things.
Kangaroos.
No, something out of a stupid suggestion.
Do get on with it, oblivious.
I'm trying to, but people keep interrupting me. Prince, something.
Prince, but too hot. The hopping
No,
prince.
the something prince is something that hops, Prince.
Grasshopper.
I don't know what else hops.
A three-legged dog.
Frog?
What?
Prince, the frog prince.
Oh, of course. What about
Well, isn't that the story you wanted to tell?
I've definitely seen you before, haven't I?
No, I don't think so.
the frog prince? In olden times, there lived a king.
Hello there. This is the better part.
The particular king had an especially fine line of daughters. Hello, Daddy.
Hello, kids.
Hi, Daddy.
Now, near this king's palace was a dark forest, and in that dark forest was a deep well. When it was a very hot day, the youngest princess used to go sit by the cool well and play with the golden ball. Now, on this particular afternoon, she was prancing about as usual, and of course the inevitable happened, and she dropped the ball straight down the...
What's happening?
She's forgotten the next word. We can't go on till she remembers it.
Well, how long's she gonna be?
No idea. Hours. Sometimes she usually falls asleep.
She can't fall asleep now. Down the well. Well.
Oh, what?
Down the well. The ball fell. Down the well.
Ah, yes!
No idea.
If I may continue. And the ball had gone and dropped straight down the well. Oh, botheration! Cried the princess, and she began to weep bitterly. And after a bit, out of the well,
Hello then, what's all this ghastly racket about?
that's the frog.
I've lost my golden ball down the well.
And the princess.
Tell you what, if I dive in and fetch it for you, what'll you give me?
Oh, anything, practically anything. My pearls, my diamonds, even the golden thingy on my head.
And the frog said,
I care not for your pearls or your diamonds or for the golden thingy on your head, but if you'll let me be your best friend, sit by you at table and lie down beside you in your little bed. If you promise me this, I'll fetch your ball for you.
and the princess replied,
Oh yes, anything you like, if only you'll rescue my ball.
but secretly she thought,
Fat chance, froggy face.
now the frog, as soon as he had the princess's promise, dived beneath the water and returned with her ball.
Thanks.
Wait, where are you going? Take me with you.
Where?
Home, with you promised.
I'm not going home with a frog. I couldn't.
And she tossed her pretty head, and off she ran, leaving one very disgruntled frog. Now, that very same evening, the princess was sitting down having dinner with her father, the king. When there was a knock at the door.
Excuse me, your majesty, sir, your royal highness, madam, but there's a frog at the door to see you, sir.
Well, tell him to go away.
He's very insistent, sir.
Why should he be doing this, daughter? Any idea? Do you owe him any money?
No, I made him this silly promise. It's nothing.
What's promise?
And so the princess told her father about the promise she had made to the frog.
Well, in that case, we'd better haul him in then. A promise is a promise.
And so, very reluctantly, the princess shared her dinner with the frog, though it has to be said she didn't eat very much of it herself.
Well, that was champion. Thanks very much. I don't know about you lads, but I could do with a lie now. Coming up, are you?
Certainly not.
A promise is a promise.
So very reluctantly, the princess went upstairs to her bed, followed by the frog. And she sat in front of her mirror and brushed her long, flowing hair. Without another word, she climbed into bed. And after a while, she even fell asleep in the full, what's his name, rose in the sky. And the frog sat over her on the side of her bed.
Hello there. It's all right. It's only.
I shall scream. I warn you.
Come on, give us a kiss. You promised. Did a promise is a promise, remember?
Bully, you great bullying bull frog.
And so very, very, very reluctantly indeed, the princess leaned in and kissed the frog. Even as they touched, there was a crack of blow, a great rush.
I am Prince Florizel, and you have saved me from a witch's curse. Only you can do this.
Oh, just a minute. Who are you?
I am yours forever.
And I am your...
Stop! I know who that is.
Oh, so do I now.
It's him.
It's him.
Lord.
Who is mind your own business?
What are we gonna do about
It's a
it?
little late to ask that now, isn't it, Oblivious?
We can't stay here, Penny. He's dangerous.
Well, it's your fault, Oblivious, for putting him in your stupid story.
It's not my fault. I forgot.
Forgot he'll be in all the stories now, don't you see? I will never get him out again, you idiot.
Stop.
Don't call me idiot! Idiot! You'll forget your words! That's better. It's very simple. We don't panic. That's the first thing. All we need to do, just a moment. And all around the palace, both inside and out, a strange sleep descended on everyone, man, woman, and child. That's better, now they can't hear us. Now it's very simple. All I need to do, is tell a story in which the boy will disappear.
Disappear.
Forever. Can you make that happen?
Of course I can.
I promise you, by the time I'm done with my story, he'll never be seen again. And the following morning, thank you, Kevin! They all awoke from a deep, refreshing sleep, remembering nothing of what they heard before they slept.
Fred, what are you doing there? You're not supposed to be there if you're not in the story.
Oh, but he is, child. He is in the story, you see?
What? Fred's in the story.
But his name isn't Fred. He's a story player like you. And his name is Flavius.
Flavius? Flavius?
Have any of you heard the name Flavius before? No, I hope not. Now, we'll pause there for a little while before the next story, which will be mine. And since Flavius is our newest recruit, it's going to concern him a great deal. I look forward to that. Come!
I can't believe it. You're really...
Don't even say the name.
Don't speak it.
We're not supposed to remember it.
It's all right to say it now. They just told us, haven't they? They thought we forgot.
What's this about?
There's a secret legend amongst all story players that at one time players told their own stories freely, as they wanted to tell them.
But a few of them, a powerful few, banded together and in time became the storytellers.
Like those three. And from then on, only they, the tellers, could tell the stories.
They control the players who lost all their power.
I see. But then who's
There
this?
was apparently one player who defied them. He continued to tell his own story.
His name was Flavius.
That's your name.
The storytellers got very angry, you see, so they put this feller into a
A
story.
story where he was made to vanish.
Vanish where?
Well, nobody knows.
The
There's so
point
much-
is, the story ended with us forgetting him. We were never meant to remember him, but we did.
Really?
Well, if I am this Flavius, well, then what am I supposed to do?
Heaven knows how, but you've been given another chance to save us, Flavius.
Rescue
Lead
us.
us out of their stories.
So we can tell our own.
Yes? Okay. I can have a go, I
Wait
suppose.
a minute.
No harm in that, is there? Can't be dangerous, can it?
Oh yes, it can be very dangerous,
They'll
Flavius.
try and make you disappear, Flavius.
Disappear? Where would they?
Oh, ever after. Who knows?
Oh, like is it happily ever after, you mean?
Not necessarily.
Unhappily ever after? Hey! If they write everything,
Practically everything.
well, how do we know they haven't written this bit?
We don't.
So the chances are the conversation we're having, they might have invented anyway, in which...
Nobody wrote that. Promise.
Listen, Flavius, I don't know how to say this, but once the story starts, you may be on your own. You understand?
How do you mean?
It means that once we get into the story, most of us, most of the time, won't be responsible for our own actions. Do you see?
We'll do what we can to help you.
Everything we can.
But trust none of us, especially her.
Especially her.
Especially me.
Can't I even trust you now?
Oh, you can, Flavius. I'll try, but I can't guarantee it. None of us can. But just remember the one other thing that could have brought her back. The strongest reason of all.
What's that?
Most.
cleaning up the place. It could take years.
I reckon it could.
Even with your two fine, strapping boys to help you. What are their names, may I ask?
This is Jethro,
Howdy do.
and this is Jonas.
Howdy do.
Glorious boys. Must be getting along then.
Oh, just a moment, excuse me.
Yes.
What about this, magic, then?
Now, Mother.
I'm only
just
asking,
saying
I'm only
this.
asking, no harm in asking. What about it, then?
You'll have to do this all together or it won't work, all right?
Maybe.
It won't work otherwise.
Yes.
Now, this may sound a bit odd, but do you have any nails or sharp tin tacks in the house?
Yes, we have a few of them.
Good. Now you want to sprinkle them about an inch deep into 4 large bowls, all right?
4 large bowls, right?
And then, at the time that you'd normally go to bed, you'll each stand barefoot in one of the bowls.
Barefoot?
On
Yes.
the tin
Set
tacks.
a pillowcase over your head.
Pillowcase?
Now, here's the tricky part. You'll have to say all together. A rabbit could not whistle Strauss. Picasso couldn't paint a mouse. Fix the damage to this house. Have you got that? All together, then.
A
rabbit.
rabbit. How many times do we have to say this?
Just until the cock crows.
All night?
Now, language!
Sorry, it may not seem like a load of fun, but if all else fails, you might want to try it. Mouth-watering boys. Mustache help buy.
Well, I'm afraid I'm not doing that. Standing in a bowl of tin tacks all night with a bag on my head chanting, not for no one, I'm sorry.
Nor me.
Nor me.
Dad?
Oh, nor me.
And so they all decided to ignore the witch's advice, since none of them fancied standing in a bowl with a bag over their head chanting. But the father, after he thought all the others were asleep, crept downstairs with his pillowcase. He took off his socks and shoes, and after having filled a kitchen bowl with tin tacks, stood in it, barefoot. And so the mother crept downstairs with her pillowcase. And the 2 boys. And so it continued all through the night. Alas, if only they'd known what they were doing wasn't real magic at all. No real witch would ever give her magic to ordinary mortals. And as she watched from her castle deep in the wood, the witch laughed. But she also did some real magic of her own, so that in the morning, as soon as the coffin crew, the place was transformed. Where there once had been mud, dead animals, contented cattle, graze of rich green grass. Chickens were foraging, lambs were leaping, pigs were brooding, and the whole barnyard was a hive of activity. William Molly, passing by on the way to market, smiled at them all in amazement. Morning, all.
Oh, morning, Molly!
Morning, Jethro.
How do you do?
Morning, Jonas.
Hello, then.
Be careful, Flavius. And young Molly continued on her way to market. And so everything was back to normal. Or nearly back to normal. For as we shall see, the family now found themselves in debt to a witch. A few days later, she returned.
Whoa there, Cyanide. Hello there.
Afternoon.
It worked. The recipe, I see it works.
Oh, I reckon they're gonna
Splendid.
Thank you very much. Say thank you to the lady boys.
Ta.
Would you care to have supper with us if you've a moment just to say thank you like we was wondering if you
were we?
We were!
Oh, how sweet of you. I'd love to.
The meal was a great success. The witch knew dozens of very funny stories. Some of them a bit risque, I'm afraid. But she kept them all well and used throughout the meal. Some of the merriment may have been due to the wine, which, it has to be said, was rather strong. For as you may have guessed, the wine was no wine at all, but a magic potion with many calories. It had no effect on the witch herself. She had made sure that it wouldn't, but it did strange things to the family. For it was, like all wine, only more so. Half love potion, half poison. And soon the boys bewitched began to fight.
What's going on here?
What's happening?
Jethro!
Jonas, stop it, both of you! You never fought like this before! Never!
Jethro, Jonas, stop it, please.
Whoa.
That's better. You're bad boys. Now what's the problem? Tell me the trouble.
I love you.
Jethro?
So do I.
Jonas?
Desperately.
Passionately.
Did you love me?
Me?
Well, quite possibly, but which one of you, that's the problem. Could I suggest something to... Could they stay with me for 3 days?
3 days?
Just stay with me whilst I decide. I promise. At the end of
You can't go there. What's going on?
You're running away! Stop this! Stop that!
Get outside!
And suddenly the forest was alive, and the wind grew stronger and stronger until finally the tallest tree in the forest came crashing down.
The boatman fell. Try as they might, they could not hope to move the tree. And as they lay there, they heard a voice coming toward them, singing.
It's the witch.
Which?
I love you, Claudius.
I love you now.
And with the snap of her fingers, the witch lifted the tree off of the two of them.
Please, no, don't get up. You lie there and you rest. And if you're both especially good, you'll each get a good night kiss.
And as the witch kissed both of their foreheads, she drew from deeply in their heads all the secret dreams they'd ever dreamt, and all the secret loves they'd ever cherished. And then Molly forgot Jonas, and Jonas forgot Molly. And likewise Nell forgot Flavius, and Flavius forgot Nell, so that for each of them, the other no longer existed. Brilliant. And then the story players, their tale told, gathered up their belongings and departed for another place, another story. And not one of them remembered Flavius, nor did Flavius remember them. In fact, the witch had taken so much of his memory, he couldn't even remember his own name. He knew only that his name was Fred.
Bread? Bread?
Why not? It's as good a name as any other.
I've been waiting here a very long time indeed.